The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus said to the Pharisees, "There was a rich man who dressed in purple garments and fine linen, and dined sumptuously each day. And lying at his door was a poor man named Lazarus, covered with sores, who would gladly have eaten his fill of the scraps that fell from the rich man's table. Dogs even used to come and lick his sores. When the poor man died, he was carried away by angels to the bosom of Abraham. The rich man also died and was buried. And from the netherworld, where he was in torment, he raised his eyes and saw Abraham far off and Lazarus at his side. And he cried out, 'Father Abraham, have pity on me. Send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am suffering torment in these flames.' Abraham replied, 'My child, remember that you received what was good during your lifetime, while Lazarus likewise received what was bad. But now he is comforted here, whereas you are tormented. Moreover, between us and you a great chasm is established to prevent anyone from crossing, who might wish to go from our side to yours, or from your side to ours.' He said, 'Then I beg you, Father, send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, so that he may warn them, lest they too come to this place of torment.' But Abraham replied, 'They have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them.' He said, 'Oh no, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will repent.' Then Abraham said, 'If they will not listen to Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded if someone should rise from the dead.' My sisters and brothers, the gospel of the Lord. Well, the one good thing for you is probably I'll be even shorter than I usually am, and that might be a blessing. Anyway, kind of interesting when we look at this gospel and the stories that Jesus weaved, talking about that and going back to the first reading, not to put our trust in human beings. There's a good way we're called to trust one another, but not to trust that we find the ultimate purpose and meaning and joy and love in human relations alone, because at times and they can disappoint, and at times human beings can hurt each other and be less than generous. We see in the gospel that today, that the rich man trusts in his riches, and he thinks he's got it made. He's rich, he's wealthy, he's probably highly recognized, and the poor guy, he's slighted every day. Notice Jesus weaving the story. In this case, it's the poor guy's name we hear, Lazarus. The rich guy, we don't hear his name, which is kind of the opposite of probably what happens in every culture. If you're rich, people know your name. If you're poor, you just go by, I don't know who you are. But Jesus, again, in weaving this story, making a strong point, and then when we go on, kind of the irony and even the sadness that there Jesus is telling the story to make a point about riches and what to really trust in and how to be generous. And he also knows as he weaves the story that what's about to happen to him, and trying to make a point to the people of his own day who say, well, hey, if somebody rises from the dead, people will really follow you then. Well, Jesus knew what was going to happen to him. He was going to be crucified, and he trusted his Father would raise him up. But as he says, they don't know what's going on in his life, but from his own life experience, he says, hey, if they won't listen to Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded if someone should rise from the dead. And probably when people heard that, they might have said, oh no, that's something so dramatic and so miraculous and so magical, sure they'll believe that. Well, we know over 2,000 years, a lot of people have not believed that. And even at times, maybe we have our moments where we get caught up in ways where we don't believe it either, or at least don't live as though we believe it in the moment. So the story is meant for all of us and meant to remind us that our greatest treasure is our faith, and it's the greatest treasure we can share. God bless.